Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and the time has finally arrived. Entry number 24 and our last entry for our final countdown battle royale. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's quite a lot of things I want to say about why I decided to do Slayer, because you may have heard me say a few times in the past saying that the only way I wanted to do Slayer from now on is sort of start at the very beginning and work my way up to the present day. And you know what? Ever since I said that, I don't think I've ever touched Slayer since I think it was October the 23rd or something like that. Or maybe it was a little bit before October. If I could remember, I would absolutely tell you guys. I think you could trust me for that. I hope so anyway. So it seems so strange that nearly 9 months later, we're only now moving on to doing chemical warfare. Now, what I kind of wanted to say about this is that there's actually a little bit of a story as to why I wanted to do chemical warfare. One, because it's technically still quite early in Slayer's career, because I think this was the first album on this is the first song on the '84 album Haunting the Chapel. Well, it's definitely on Haunting the Chapel, and I think it definitely came out in '84. But also because I wasn't even going to do Slayer at all, because what actually happened was that in the list I had for all the videos I was going to do, I was actually supposed to do a song called Window Pane by Opeth, which I actually did quite early in a different rumble altogether. So that meant I was going to always sort of be one video short for to conclude this royale itself. So I was sort of torn between a few options. I was either gonna put either something by maybe let's say Rob Zombie, or maybe I'll put another Metallica song, or maybe even the Dead Kennedys. There was actually quite a lot of contenders for this, but then I decided we're gonna sort of take this back to sort of our roots when we first started off doing thrash metal. And apparently chemical warfare is meant to be a classic in itself. Is it meant to be better than something like Seasons in the Abyss, Raining Blood, South of Heaven, Angel of Death? There was some other songs aside, but I think maybe, or even War Ensemble. Is it going to be any better than a lot of those? Because trust me, guys, Slayer has some very, very strong songs in their catalogue in their nearly 40-year career. So I think it's more than fitting that we close off this final countdown with pretty much from almost where it began with doing thrash. So let's see what Slayer have got. So if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Let's begin. Chemical warfare in 3, 2, 1, and... This isn't even close to that's better.
Frantic minds are terrified, life was in the grave. Silent death rides high above the wings of revelation. Marching death from chemicals, arrogance as one. Annihilation must be swift, destroy without destruction. Gather the throne must be watching from hell, waiting to mass in a drunken beasts line up in death row. Shadows and nasty beats diminish from this hell. Vanish from the dying world, the lords of hell awake. Dogs of war are helpless prey to immortality. Gather the room as we watch it fell, waging the mass genocide. Soldiers defeated in death from the spell, bodies lie dormant, no life. Rising your souls from the land when they fell, demons are ready to die. Nothing to see when the sleeping souls lie. Chemical warfare.
Yeah, have you guys ever heard of the expression the hamster's still spinning but the body is dead or something? It's something like that, like when like the engine's still running. That was what like I felt like the last 30 seconds were. The entire song just, it kept going. It was not The only way you're going to stop a song like this is if you hit a tree. That is the only thing that will ever stop a song like this. like a runaway train with no brakes. But oh my, you know what? I'm gonna put it out, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this right now. I didn't even want this to stop. Okay, guys, I'm gonna put it to you like this, and at the risk of stirring up controversy, I'll just say it like this. Ride the Lightning came out in the exact same year as this, right? I even have a jacket with Ride the Lightning on the back of it. And Ride the Lightning opens with a song called Fight Fire with Fire. And it's just okay in my opinion. It's not one of my personal favorites. There's some things on Ride the Lightning that I absolutely love. There are some things I'm just kind of a little bit indifferent towards. But oh my god, Chemical Warfare. This is the beginning of the album. Are you kidding me? I gotta find out if that's true. Yes, it's true. There's only 4 songs on this album. Are you kidding me? That is absolute. That is. Who on? What, really? That's. You know what? If there's only 4 songs on this is more of an LP than I would say an album. But you know what? I'm gonna go on a limb and say this again. I reckon you could get far more out of those 4 songs than maybe. This was Hanneman and King must have spent goodness knows how many hours perfecting this. They must have worked very, very hard on this, because really 4 songs, you might say that's a little bit, like you would expect a little bit more, but then again, if it's anything like Chemical Warfare, if Captor of Sin, Haunting the Chapel, and Aggressive Perfector are anything like Chemical Warfare, then I think it's literally got to be. It's got to be as good as any of those, or maybe even better. Now, moving on to Chemical Warfare itself, I think, ladies and gentlemen, the imagination that the 2 words chemical and warfare can stir up in one's imagination almost is quite frankly limitless. Like mustard gas, tear gas, gassing, and just watching a human it's not just like I can imagine Slayer are the sort of people where you could go much further than just somebody collapsing to the ground. You're talking about skin oozing, melting, bubbling, turning green, turning red, turning violet, and literally flesh beginning to melt. You're talking about a weapon that could be blown into the air, and before you know it, you could go to sleep one evening, wake up the next morning to find one of your eyeballs is literally banging against the side of your leg. Or you could wake up one morning, cough, and then you'll be wondering, hang on a minute, why is my heart in my hand? What's going on? I think, ladies and gentlemen, you know what's that's kind of terrifying in a way, because think about this. Now, we all know that air, oxygen, is something we so readily take for granted. We just we do that almost without thinking, because we just need to do it to stay alive. But what if I would half imagine it would be kind of like trying to be like being in space, where you try to take a breath and there's nothing going into you. Your skull begins to literally cramp up inside, and then pop, your eyeballs explode. Not that I half expect a Chemical Warfare scenario to include that and not include that sort of thing as well, because I would. Oh god, it's fascinating just how much Slayer In fact, this was probably inspired by the idea of mustard gas from the First World War, another one of Germany's maniacal inventions of death. Frantic minds are terrified. Life lies in a grave. Silent death rides high above in the atmosphere, ready to rain itself down with the blood of its enemies from a lacerated sky. I love raining blood as much as the next person, but I love it when I can work it into literally any context, including Slayer. On the wings of revelation, multi-death from chemicals, arrogance has won. Annihilation must be swift. Destroy without destruction. In fact, actually, you know what I was saying earlier about the graphicness of how chemicals can literally cause a human body to decay like nothing else, or even melt like a candle? No, they're literally just, and you're dead. Straightforward, no pain, no suffering. Although, to be honest, I reckon if you got gassed, you would probably suffer quite a great deal. But when all it's said and done, how much destruction is there? It's that you can kill people without launching bombs into each other, wasting cartridges and stuff like that. You could save a lot, and actually, it's maximizing your range, your abilities, without actually having to spend a lot of money on terms of like weaponry and manufacturing artillery in many ways. Gods of the throne must be watching from hell, awaiting the mass genocide. Soldiers defeated by death from a smell. Bodies lie dormant, no life. Rising new souls on the land where they fell. Demons not ready to die. Nothing to see where the sleeping souls lie. Chemical warfare. That is literally... The lords of hell await. Dogs of war are helpless prey to immortality. Gods of throne must be watching from hell. What is liquidate? The torture kills the troops that try to fight. Oh, God. Terminate human pesticide. Bring days of doom. Mist falls, the deadly gas that brings them to their knees. Guys, literally, I'm gonna go on, because I've never heard, like, some of you guys may remember way back when I did my my Disposable Heroes reactions, and I talked extensively about the realization of how the sheer magnitude of the men and women who died to protect us all, and how ignoble it kind of like makes us feel, because we've had to absolutely do nothing to live the life that we almost live. However, Slayer have gone for an almost different tack of literally, yes, they're talking about soldiers who've died, but they are going into very graphic detail about how, or some of the ways they were dying. And I gotta tell you what right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's fascinating, and I think it's even more fascinating when you really do take into account how graphic they're going into this. And trust me, guys, like the devil is in the details, and he's probably sitting at the very edge of his seat to find out exactly how this is happening. They talk about liquefaction, vaporization, annihilation, a human pesticide. Human pesticide, that's friggin' something you would hear Wilfred Owen write about in his war poetry. That friggin' Slayer have written poetry and put it into the context of a metal song. Death metal, thrash, call it whatever you want. The point still stands. This is poetry in painfully slow, agonizing motion. Also, just the way it ended as well. It's like a deep rumbling that is, if that straight up does not make you nauseous or a little bit uneasy, think about what it must have been like for soldiers to suddenly, and then literally hold their necks, hold their noses, and then that's it, game over. Think about what they must have had to have put up with, and what this. I half imagine that the smell of mustard gas mustn't be too bad as it sounds, but when it gets into your system, I reckon it'll probably destroy your sense of smell before you begin to realize what's just happened to you. And then the next thing you realize, you're lying on the ground taking a good look at the sky because it's the last time you will. They call it what an absolutely. The more I learn about warfare and some of the lengths and breadths people would go to annihilate enemies, like strapping sticks of dynamite onto the backs of rats to send into the trenches, to I think like launching rockets, just setting off any old grenade into trenches, to means of torture to extract information out of enemy spies who might have landed by parachute, to barbed wire in the battles of the Somme and Passchendaele, to hearing about frigging chemicals used to, as they put it, liquidate the enemy, just to entertain gods that are now the gods of hell, literally, with, gritted teeth, all just baying at the leash, to ready to go wild to say what marvelous works of destruction they're doing. They are serving their cause well. Is this? I might even just call this right now. I think this is the best Slayer song I've done yet. Only because, well, it's not only because of the things I mentioned, but for its brutality, its haunting atmosphere. It really sets the mold that, well, again, war is literally hell. And if this in any way inspired Disposable Heroes, I would straight up not be that surprised, because think about it. I'll go over it one more time just before we finish. Utilizing gas, utilizing a man's weakness of the very air that we breathe as a means to kill. What demonic mind could have possibly have come up with something like that? And I do know that we can't necessarily say Adolf Hitler, because they were using this tactic in the First World War. So whoever the current Kaiser was, or maybe it was some Austrian, or maybe some German scientist may have come up with the idea or something like that. But what absolute twisted minds that there are in this world who want to do stuff like that. And also some of the other things as well, like saying strapping dynamite to rats. Goodness knows what else they would have done. War is hell, and hell is doing good. How about that for a way to end our battle royale? A little bit on the darker side, but I do love that in my metal music, and I do love what a song to get back into after nearly a whole year of not listening to Slayer. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to say goodbye. Farewell, my friends. Farewell. For this really is the end of the final countdown. Take care. Bye-bye for now.